Hello, everybody. Welcome to Where is the Line, where we explore the gray areas of life. My name is Jane Liu. I am with my co-host Sabrina Fruhaf today. I'm super excited today because we have a special guest with us. She is a mom. She is our coworker, but she is also a fashion and lifestyle influencer and content creator. We follow her. We love her content, so we're just so lucky to have her with us today. Her name is Brittany. Brittany, do you want to share a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. So excited to be on here to talk a little bit more about me, what I do in the fashion influencing world, just how I stay true to myself as well. Very excited to be here.
All right. Well, Brittany, diving right in, and yeah, super excited to have you on. So we would love to hear more about just generally. There's a lot of talk and thoughts around sort of the balance, right? What you share online versus what you keep private. So having taken a look at your Instagram, I feel super inspired by all the posts that you're making, but I'm sure it's not always easy, or it's not always what you see is what how you feel on the inside, right, as you post them. So I would love to hear more. As I'm sure many in your audience, you have about 30,000 plus followers, which I'm sure, or I would imagine, not a lot of these people you actually know in real life. So how do you choose what to share, and how do you actually stay true to yourself, and find that balance?
Finding the balance is hard. That I think because I'm kind of in this two-part era of my life, right? Like so I started as a blogger in 2012. So I've been through about two or three rebrands of what you all see today. So I was not always Love B Style. I used to be Love Style Transform, then I was Queen AOB, and then I was the new Queens. Like I've been through a lot of rebrands and trying to like not only find myself but find the balance. And before, when I first started out, it was share everything, right? Like that was what a lot of bloggers, what a lot of influencers were doing. They were just sharing every part of their life. So you wake up, you go to breakfast with them, you're going to lunch, you're going to work, you're seeing their kids, you're seeing every activity that they do in the day. And that becomes exhausting. Like it becomes very exhausting. Um, so the balance that I've kind of struck now is what is making me excited, and then what do I feel on my heart that I want to authentically share. So if I'm, let's just say, like this past weekend I was getting dressed and I'm, I'm saying, I'm like about to go out for Halloween. I'm excited about that. So I want you all to see that as well. If I'm going through something difficult, I might just hop on and just share a little bit more about like what's on my heart, what I'm feeling, different things like that. Early in the year, I shared that I had started the year off very depressed. Like I was dealing with a lot personally and professionally, and it was causing some depression. And so at first I was like, I don't know if I want to share that, but then I'm like, it might actually help someone. And because I have this following and now I feel a lot more comfortable, then I do it. So the balance is never, it's not a science. So I try to really stick to here's what I'm excited about and I want to share. Here's what may inspire some people. And then I think people genuinely like when they feel like they know you. So I also try to strike that balance with my family too. I don't like to share everything. So I'll share little snippets like this little part of Thanksgiving or that little part of, you know what I'm saying, like my niece's birthday, things like that. But I'm not going to share that because I've also tried to stay a lot more in the moment. Um,
Mhm.
I feel like before I was trying to like document everything, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to show you from the moment I step into this restaurant until the moment I leave, right? And then I'm like, did I even like the food? Like, I don't even remember the food.
Right.
It's interesting. Like I've gone through this evolution of balance. Um, and that's really a long-winded way of answering that question, but yeah.
No,
Yeah.
that's
And
perfect. Yeah.
that's wonderful. And I feel like, obviously, I feel so excited to have seen your wedding. I feel like that was such a big moment very recently in your life, which also congratulations.
Thank you.
Um, but how do you find the balance between like sharing stuff about your family, right? Like, do you, because obviously your Instagram is primarily yourself and your style and your content.
Yeah.
Do you try to shield your family or having kids? Like, how do you find that balance?
I don't try to shield them. I think my family likes being on my Instagram more so than they like being on their Instagram because they
Yeah.
know of the following. So I don't try to shield them, but like I said, I don't try to document everything because I also want to live in the moments with them, right? So I
Mhm.
only will show snippets of, what I may have going on for the day instead of the entire thing. Like with the wedding, when I before last year when we had first started planning, it was my kind of plan to document everything. I mean, I wanted to document from when I was talking to vendors to when I was picking out my dress and this, and I'm like, no, like that just becomes
Mhm.
a lot and intrusive. So I started just showing snippets, but then I was also dealing with a lot like mentally, in my mental health. So I was just like, it's going to be too much. So I don't want to do that anymore.
Mhm.
But I don't try to shield them because they know that if they're in general around me, like there might be some documentation, but there are moments where it is just us that I just say, you know what, I'm not even gonna film that or put that on Instagram or do a story about that.
Right. Still having time for you and your family without
Yeah.
having an audience watching that. That
Yes.
makes a lot of sense.
And I
Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I see so many influencers who do that, who literally document every single part of their life. And I'm like, God bless y'all. Like, I cannot imagine waking up and literally from the moment I wake up out of bed to the moment I go to sleep, like I am on my Instagram stories. And I get like that is how they connect with their followers. So I'm not judging that. But I also found out that it exhausted me. So I guess my balance is like, is it gonna exhaust me? If it is, I'm not even gonna do it no more.
Yeah, that's fair. And obviously, with a relatively big audience, many of which you don't know in real life, I'm sure you experience negativity. I'm sure people comment about your not just your style, right? Because that's what you actively share, but also your body image, the content that you are sharing, comments. What's your experience with that, and how do you generally deal with some of these like unrealistic expectations of you?
That has been a journey, to be honest.
Mm.
I will say before 2020, I never experienced any negative comments. Like it was because my following was relatively small. So I was about at like 2,400 followers. It wasn't until 2020 when I started doing TikTok and some of my Instagram videos also started to gain a little bit of following. That's when I started getting them. And I remember Good. I remember it's so interesting how people can be just so bold in comments. Like I
Mhm.
did a how to style video. It was one of my first ones. I was so excited about it. I was so proud of the work that I did. And like there were several comments like, ugh, what does she have on? Oh my God, that is so ugly.
Mm.
Why would you pair that with that? And I'm like, like if you don't like it, that's fine. But why do you take the time to like comment that? So I had to work through being able to like navigate through those comments. I have a community that also doesn't play either. So if they see something, like they are going to absolutely say something back for me.
Mhm.
um, so the comments have gotten less, but one of the things that was really wild to me as far as body image that you just spoke to was people were asking me a lot like last year, was I pregnant? And it was
Mm.
literally the most intrusive thing. I'm talking about like they would ask in the comments, they would ask in DMs, like, are you pregnant? Are you pregnant? And I'm like,
Wow.
first of all, I know I got a little pudge, but my goodness, like what's going on? Like, why are y'all, what is this? Why
Mhm.
is this happening? And it made me so self-conscious because I'm a thin person. You know what I'm saying? So like I have a lot of privilege when it comes to like my body, my shape, you know what I'm saying? Like all of that.
Mhm.
And it's just like, why would y'all feel the need to comment that? You know what I'm saying? Like just because my stomach just looked a little bigger, like y'all want to continue to ask me what I'm pregnant. So that started to make me very, very self-conscious about what I was posting online. And then eventually I was just like, you know what? I literally had to make a story and say, stop asking me if I'm pregnant. I don't want to do it. Like I'm telling y'all, if y'all ask me I'm pregnant, I'm literally gonna go off on you. Um, so
Yeah.
it's interesting. I feel like I've learned how to handle it a little bit better. I delete, I block a lot.
Mhm.
But then I also am just like, I also realize that people are just ignorant. And it just comes
Hmm.
with the territory, to be honest.
Yeah, and setting that healthy boundary as much
Mhm.
as possible, I guess.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
say
No,
something.
first of all, thank you for being so vulnerable. And that just highlights how incredibly tough this world is that you're in, right? And even people may see, oh, she's got all these followers, she must be so happy, but that comes with a
Hmm.
lot of challenges. And yeah, last week Jane and I just did an episode on setting boundaries. So I really feel,
Mhm.
I feel like we feel inspired by how you're setting those boundaries for yourself, because that's the only way you can really survive in that
And
world,
I
I feel like.
And I say, like, I agree. I feel like you set the boundaries for yourself, but you also have to set the boundaries for your audience. Because if you allow
Hmm.
your audience to run rampant, then they're just going to continue to say the most wild things to you. So once you start getting a couple of those comments, then you got to start nipping that in the bud. What y'all not going to do on this page is that. So if I see it, you're getting removed. You know what I'm saying? So I
Hmm.
feel like that's the reason why I've been able to like keep it a little bit tighter. Like I don't get as much because I'm also not afraid to check and set boundaries with my audience either.
Mm.
Y'all not gonna continue to ask me if I'm pregnant. That's not happening.
Mm,
Right.
yeah, no, that's really admirable, but I think important. So yeah, continuing on this, obviously this influencer world is pretty interesting and fascinating, and I know very little about it. But so as you were trying to stay authentic and seem authentic, while also like showing sort of your highlight reel, right? Like, can you share more about that pressure of you're taking all of these pictures, but then you're posting one, right? And obviously that should be like probably your favorite one, right? And I feel like there's a lot of pressure. So how do you find that balance? And in the same vein of, we're seeing a lot more TikTokers or Instagrammers or influencers now trying to be more real, #real, and like showing some very like non-traditional pictures of them without any makeup. And yeah, so how do you strike that balance, and how do you find like a good middle ground, or what's your position on that?
I'm still trying to find that balance if I'm gonna be real. I haven't gotten to the point where, well, I will get on story. So I've struck the balance with I'll get on stories in my like real self because that disappears in 24 hours. but but my like feed on Instagram is a little is still very curated for sure.
Hmm.
So I say I'm still trying to find that balance in like showing like the real me and not like the hair, the makeup, the you know what I'm saying, like cute outfit, different things like that on my feed. I also try to do that a little bit in some of my videos where I might start off and there isn't as much makeup on, or you know, or something like that. So I'm still trying to strike that balance. But then again, I also like makeup. I also like my hair to be done. I also like you know what I'm saying, clothes too. So I feel like that's
Hmm.
still very much so me. Um, and more often than not, if I'm gonna get in front of a camera, I'm gonna make sure that I look fly. So that's just kind of how I am. I also think that's kind of what my audience expects from me as well.
Yeah. Do you feel like, and this is just, I'm personally even curious, do you feel like new age social media, so thinking more TikTok or even like the Be Real app, is fostering this world of being very authentic and in the moment, and you don't have to look perfect? I've seen a lot of even videos of your children crying in the background, and like that is real life. Do you feel like there is a shift in social media and the expectation that people are now having on like new age influencers?
That's interesting. I feel like it depends on your niche, to be
Mm.
honest. I feel like you might get that more from lifestyle influencers, right? Like because so much of their content and their brand is just around their day-to-day life. So I think you would want to get more of that realness. Um, when you're following beauty or you're following, you know what I'm saying, like fashion or style, there's just a certain expectation that comes with that. Um, but I do think that there is a trend to becoming more real and authentic for sure. And I do appreciate seeing that a lot more because again, starting in 2012 when everything was curated and you barely showed, you know what I'm saying, like the quote unquote real, to where we are now, you know, I feel like it feels a lot more freeing, you know what I'm saying? Like to not be so put together all the time. And that you really could, you know what I'm saying, like still connect with people, even if you don't have on a face full of makeup or your hair isn't like perfectly put together.
Yeah, that's fair.
And TikTok
And
does a good job at that though too. I feel like
Mhm.
video, you can't, I mean, editing video, baby. If you can do it, that's a skill. It's not a skill I got yet. So I feel like being on video, you just gotta take it where what it is. Whereas we got a ton of apps to make us look fly for a picture, to be honest.
That's true. And there's all these commentary about like your social media is your highlight reel. That is like one sliver of your life, right? Everybody kind of shows the best version of themselves on that. And a lot of times people tend to compare and feel almost incompetent or inadequate of their own life because they're seeing this tiny sliver of this
Mhm.
perfect world for someone else, but they're also going through stuff. And I think that's kind of the balance that you talked about. You went through mental health issues, you're going through a lot of things, and people don't always see that side of you. They see this beautiful put together side. And oftentimes you really have to find a good balance of showcasing like different aspects of your life, I guess.
100%. I agree with that.
Talk to us a little bit about working with sponsors and brands. Obviously, some people have that as their full-time job. That is not your full-time job, but you obviously work with different companies and different brands and products. Um, do you find that in maybe through your personal experience or other influencers that you've worked with or friends with, um, how do people stay true to what they believe in? And what do you generally do if the product is not as good as maybe people advertise it, or maybe the mission of the company you don't necessarily align with? Have you experienced that?
Yeah, so I'm not going to accept a brand sponsorship if I wouldn't use it myself or if I wouldn't be curious to use it. So if
Hmm.
I'm not going to spend my own coin on the product, then I'm not going to sponsor the product. And then some of them, like, I'm very curious about it anyway. Like, I've heard a lot of great things. And so I'm curious, just like other folks. Dyson is one of those. Now, we know Dyson is not cheap, baby,
Hmm.
but I've always been curious because I've heard amazing things about their blow dryer. And so
Hmm.
when they approached me about doing a sponsor post, I was very excited because I'm like, oh my God, I would have loved to, you know what I'm saying, to buy this anyway. So yes, I'm willing to, you know what I'm saying, like try it out.
Hmm.
Um, I think what you have to do when you get a product, even if you do want to buy it or you and you haven't tried it anymore, and then you get it and it's just like, oh, it
Hmm.
didn't work out like how I wanted it to. I think you have to be honest with the brand about that. Um,
Hmm.
there was a situation where I did have to have like a conversation like, I can't show this piece. I don't like it at all on my body. I'm so sorry. Y'all sent it to me. So do you want me to send it back? Because I am not about to get online and act like I love this clothing piece and I actually think it looks terrible on me. And we actually had to go back and forth like several times because they were trying to get me to like, and I was like, no,
Mm.
this is literally not my style. Like, why would I put this out there? It's not my style at all. And then finally we came to a resolution where I wouldn't show any of the tops that they sent me. I would just show the bottoms because I love the jeans, but the tops were
Hmm.
terrible. And I was like, I'm not showing this. So I think you have to one, be very, very secure within yourself, right? Like money come, money goes, right? Like
Hmm.
nothing should go above integrity. So everything that I've ever shown online, I have genuinely liked it and or have bought it before or will buy it again. So that's that. And then when it comes to clothing, if it is not my personal style, then we might not even do it. So a lot of the ways that I balance that is that I pick out the clothes from the clothing
Hmm.
from the brand, and then they just send me the pieces. So that's kind of one of the clauses in working with clothing brands is that if 9 times out of 10 I won't accept it if I can't pick out what I'm going to wear. That the one instance where it wasn't working out was they were saying like, no, they sent me a lookbook and I kind of gave them some pieces and they sent me some other things and they want me to do it. Yeah, nah. This is the reason why I pick out what I want to wear, because y'all send me some crazy mess and I'm not gonna do this.
Yeah. Oh, that's one of those tough things where sometimes, and I'll even share a personal experience. I obviously follow a lot of like pretty big influencers, and a lot of times and that is their full-time job. And a
Mhm.
lot of times I see them sharing sponsor post after sponsor post after sponsor post. And I'm just like, I don't know if I should believe them anymore. And it's
Yeah.
hard to, and it sucks, right? Because I like their content. I love their lifestyle stuff. And when they're sharing their personal life, it's wonderful. Like you feel like you know them. But when it's one after another, it's hard for me to continue to trust their recommendation. And I think that's like a fine line a lot of influencers really struggle with, but ultimately that is their job. And so even as the audience, I feel like I need to take it with a grain of salt because that's how they make a living.
Yeah, it is a very fine line. And one that I found myself against last year when I was heavily doing brand sponsorships. One, it's kind of hard to say no when some of your favorite brands are coming at you like, "Hey, you want to work with us?"
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, like of course, right? But but there is this stigma around like, are you all telling the truth? Do you really like the product? Like I know a couple of times when I've shared sponsor posts, like I would have people in my DMs like, well, do you really like it? And I'm like, I would not show y'all something that I did not like, but I also get it because some people might, which is, you know what I'm saying? Like makes it harder for those of us who do try to stay authentic. Um, so I think it's a fine line. I would say if you're following them for a reason, right? Like so there's some level of trust that you have within what they're sharing, what they're saying, what they're posting, and different things like that. So
Hmm.
until you hear otherwise, like it's kind of starting with trust first, and then you
Hmm.
know what I'm saying. Like a little bit, it's hard, and it's easy for me to say as an influencer because I'm like, y'all, please trust me. So I get it's easier said than done, but I feel like trusting first, especially if you follow them and they have a sponsor post and you are genuinely curious about it, they more often than not, they really do, you know what I'm saying, like it and are really wanting you all to try it out as well.
And I think even from the influencer perspective, y'all have incentive to be honest as well,
Yeah.
right? Like you want your audience to your point, like trust is the foundation to the relationship between like the person who's posting content and the person like reading or watching the content. And so as influencers, you also are incentivized to be honest and be authentic and
Mhm.
like truly represent your own opinion on certain things. And so I've even seen like the world of influencers change where, now there's this expectation that you would hashtag ad, hashtag sponsor,
Oh,
and to provide transparency. Um, and I've even seen influencers share like more negative or neutral feedback about a product that they're sponsored to post about. So it's just interesting to see like the evolution of the sponsor role now that that is more and more prominent as well.
yeah. Well, and you're gonna start seeing more like hashtag sponsor and hashtag ad because the FTC don't play.
Mm,
No, one thing you don't want to do is get a letter from the FTC saying, "Hey," that's what happened with Kim Kardashian. I think like she was posting a lot of like sponsor posts, but she wasn't, you know what I'm saying, like being transparent that she was getting paid for that or that they were sponsor posts, and the FTC not gonna play with you. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you have a large following. I mean, like Kim, but we are that's like beyond light years beyond. But I would say like you're gonna see more of that because of that FTC push. There was some information that came out, I think, right around 2020, where they were like, "This is what you all have to do if you're an influencer." But I
mhm,
also think what influencers need to start doing more is, yes, your day job is to, if you're a full time influencer, is to get these sponsor posts, right? Like that's what pays your bills. But what are you actually spending your money on, right?
mm,
Like that is, I feel like that is how you find the balance and authenticity. So if all I'm showing you is things that were given to me or things that I'm being paid for, that makes me a little bit more hesitant to believe. But if I say like, "Hey, I found this thing on Amazon, girl, go get it," and it's not even through an Amazon affiliate link, or you know what I'm
mhm,
saying? Like I buy something from Pretty Little Thing and I'm like, "I love this," and I'm not getting paid for it at all. It's gonna make you feel like, okay, not everything, you know what I'm saying, like has an agenda at the end of it.
Right. Absolutely.
And that makes you more real too, to like when I follow influencers, when they have a balance of, yes, they're sponsored ads, but also I'm not affiliated with this brand person, but I still recommend it. So yeah, no, and actually that ties really well into one of our last questions here, Brittany, but I earlier at the beginning of our call, I love how you shared more around sort of some influencers are jumping on this trend of sharing everything in their mom, right? And how sure you notice that, but it's not like it prompts you to also do the same. And so I feel like just comparing is in our nature, right? It's in humans' nature. So we look at other people and what they're doing, but I think today you really showed us how you're sticking to your true self and you have your own path. And I think that makes you very like authentic and attractive to your listeners and to your audience. So any advice you have for either smaller influencers or content creators that are just getting started in terms of how can they build their voice online and really stick to their authentic self, and also catch themselves on when they compare to others, because I feel like that world is just prone to do that.
Yeah. Oh, as a smaller influencer, I will say it's hard, right? Because you want to do what's going to get you the most visibility. And trends, doing what other people are doing gets you visibility, baby. It's just the nature of the game. But I feel like even if you're doing that, like you have to first know who you are. I feel like you can tell the influencers who don't know who they are and they're just like following whatever is going on and hopping on whatever trend. So I feel like if you're like starting off in the game, or you've been in it and you're really looking to grow your following, more often than not, the people that follow me say that the reason why they love me is because I'm me. Like they really do feel like when I'm offline or when I'm online, this is Brittany. I'm not like Brittany online and then I'm some completely different person. So if I'm cracking jokes, if I'm looking fly, if I'm crying, like that is just who Brittany is. And I think like really knowing who you are and being authentic to who you are truly inside is one of the best things that you can do. The next thing is like, what do you want to share authentically online? So what's going to bring you joy? If you had to do this every day, what is going to bring you joy, right? Is that showing your kids? Is that doing lifestyle? Is that doing fashion? Is it beauty? Is it talking about tips at work, Gen Z, millennials? You know what I'm saying? Like, what is going to bring you joy? That I think really matters a lot, because again, you're going to have to share this over and over and over again. So you want to make sure that you find happiness in it, but then you also have to strike that balance, because if you are sharing it, then you kind of get over and you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. So it has to bring you joy. And I think you just also have to have a why. Why are you even online? Why are you even doing this? You know what I'm saying? Like, is it because you're just trying to go viral? Well, you might not last that long, because going viral is like a hit or miss for folks. Trust me. One video I can make and I'm like, ooh, this was fire. I know this is going to get some hits. And then the next video I get it and it's like, oh, that's the video that wants to get 100. Okay. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so it's not, the algorithm is not nice to anybody. That's what I like to say. No matter how many followers that you have, because even big followers, like they could get 1 million and the next one they can get 100,000 views. Like, it's just really an interesting thing. So I feel like those 3 things when you're starting off really help sustain you as you move forward, because if you do go viral and you do see this sudden surge in followers and fame and celebrity and things like that, without those things, you're gonna get sucked down a rabbit hole.
Those are such good takeaways. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, in summary, do what brings you joy, right? And post about what brings you joy. And then the why, that's so applicable to so many areas of life, business, like what's your why, right? And my coach told me, even just at a like more tactical level, if I post something on social media with my little following, why do you post it? Is it because you really want to post it for you, or are you seeking attention or something? So I don't know if you do that before posting every post. That might be a lot, but I think that's such a good advice in general.
Yeah, sometimes I post just because I want to post. Sometimes I want a little bit of attention. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna be real. Like,
Yeah.
sometimes you know what I'm saying? Like, you look good, you're like, oh, I know this is gonna kill the girls, or
Nice.
like you. So you post it. But I also don't start with that every single time, right? Too, you know what I'm saying? So I think that also plays into that authenticity as well. So not everything is attention seeking, but sometimes it feels good to know that you look good and you got
Yeah.
people that's like, yes, girl,
Absolutely.
it, right? Like, it feels good.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
shame there. No, thank you.
Oh, thank you. This has been wonderful. And I feel like it's so insightful because we're not in that world. And so for us to hear little like snippets of what you've experienced and both the good and the bad, right? It's a very realistic view of what it's like to want to get into that world because I feel like a lot of people dream about it and almost put it on a pedestal of like this is going to be this amazing experience of being an influencer and that being their job, but in reality it's not as easy as people think. Not only the tactical side of like just putting out content, but the mental side, the comments that people are giving you, letting that negativity impact you, like all of that is not easy. So really appreciate you spending time with us and sharing your insights and recommendations. Before we go, we would love to have you share any projects that you're working on, or where can our audience find you?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Love Be Style. To your point of mental health and just really being more conscious of that, given the situation that I found myself in at the beginning of the year, I have taken a step back. Just well, one, I mean, I was getting married, and again, that was a lot in and of itself. But I have taken a step back. So I don't have any like new projects that I'm working on. I think this journey that I'm on now is what is the content that I truly want to share now, right? Like, I think I last year I felt like I got sucked into the vacuum a little bit of like that go mentality in content creation. If you're not posting, you're not growing. Like, that's kind of the mentality, and it's very damaging to your mental health to be online, to work full time, to do all of these different things, to have life. And I was doing that 6 days a week, and I was on my stories like literally like every day as well. So it is a lot to have to do. So I've kind of taken a step back to not only like rejuvenate myself, but then to also figure out like, what is it that I really truly want to show? Is it more lifestyle now? Is it still fashion? And yes, it's still fashion. But I'm really trying to go on that journey before I dive back into the world of influencing. But even in diving back into that world, I feel like I'm gonna take a step back with the brands. I feel like working with brands has also made me not like it as much because there's so much deadlines and to-dos and different things that you have to do. So I think I'm gonna be a little bit more curated than I was before in what type of brands I'll work with.
Yeah, that's so wonderful to hear that you're essentially stepping back to reevaluate the work, the passion, why you're, to your earlier point, why you're doing this, right? So love hearing that. Thank you again so much. And for our audience that is listening, if you want to reach us or if you have ideas of what you want to listen to, email us at where'sthelinepod@gmail.com and subscribe to us wherever you are listening. Thank you. Bye.